Hey everyone. Um, I wanted to um, do a little bit different of an update. Um, doing a video update, obviously. Um, please please excuse the grainy and poor quality of the video. My laptop is pretty old. Um, I wanted to give an update on how I'm doing, what I'm doing, kind of where I'm at physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of those things. Um, and with that, my other intention in this is to give people an opportunity to kind of reflect on their own lives and their own experiences. Um, just because I think that a lot of the time when I talk to people about my experiences, and I'm very open with them in terms of what's going on with me, it can make them very uncomfortable, um, and it is uncomfortable topics, right? In terms of sickness, illness, death, changing life paths, being a part of that unknown and totally being subjected to that unknown. They are very uncomfortable things. So I'd like to, part of this is to give you all an opportunity to really feel that uncomfortability and sit in it and reflect on it and why that makes you guys uncomfortable. It's always uncomfortable for me. um, so I guess the um, first couple of things, I've had some big changes going on recently. My first big change is that probably within the last month, um, I decided to not continue going to social work school. I'm gonna finish out this year. Um, and I'm working with UConn and my professors to end in a good way, um, without adding additional stress to my life. Um, and and that's something that is a little bittersweet for me. Um, any of you who really know me, you know that when I commit to something, I finish it through and I commit 100%. And really getting into a place where I can't fulfill that commitment, and that commitment is not what is best for me, is really difficult. It was a difficult place to get there, and I would say, in a lot of ways, I had the advantage of having a terminal illness to not be my excuse, but be a more legitimate reason. Um, because I think that so many people get stuck in a track in their life and they say, oh, I have to do this and I have to do it this way, or else I'm not successful, or else I'm not happy, or else I'm not, XYZ. And and the reason that I say, it's somewhat beneficial for me to have this this illness is that I don't really have another option. Um, it's just not feasible for me. Um, and I think that this decision came not because I physically can't do school anymore. Um, physically, I am feeling fine. I've just started the lacrosse season at East Catholic, the high school that I went to, doing assistant coaching and primarily focusing on the strength and conditioning as well as the defensive end. I've been going for runs. I've been going for hikes with my dog. All of these things. And granted, I say all that stuff and it sounds really good, but there's also that's a big part of my energy goes to that. I really like my physical being and I want to keep it as strong and healthy for as long as I can, because whatever happens after I die, I'm not going to have a body. And so I really want to take advantage of that while I'm here experiencing it. But that does take up a lot of my limited energy that I have. But the bigger reason why I stopped school was over winter break. Let me rewind a little bit. Last year around this time, my father had his aortic dissection and was in the hospital after his life-saving surgery dealing with complications. So that would have been on March 29th, or excuse me, March 29th last year. And my birthday is today, it's April 1st. And last year, this time, day or two before my birthday, I found out that my cancer spread to my liver, and that ultimately meant that surgery was totally out of the question. So my cancer was like officially a terminal cancer at that point. And so, it was the first time since my diagnosis that I had actually asked about a prognosis and how long I was going to live. And my doctor at the time gave me an answer that was kind of a typical doctor answer, a typical doctor non-answer, but it did give me some comfort. And basically what they said was, could be 10 years, could be less, could be more, could be 5, could be less, could be more. And so that gave me, definitely gave me some comfort at the time and allowed me to plan my life with this idea of optimistically having 10 years, having a decade. And so that was the mindset that I had when I enrolled in UConn for the social work program, which was something that, being a therapist or a counselor has been something that I've wanted basically since I began thinking about my professional career. And I was exposed to that at Turning Point, which is an extended care facility, or which was an extended care facility. They changed the name, but it was an extended care facility that my oldest brother, went to as a client and worked at. And that was the place that I really got to know him as my brother. And the only place that I ever experienced him outside of his active addiction. And seeing that transformation in him and seeing the clients that he would ultimately work with and seeing their transformations and still being involved in some of those guys' lives now. I'm still in touch with some of the guys that my brother went through the program with and worked with. Really inspired me to do that and to be part of, to have a career being in service to others in that way. And that has been the thing that has driven me academically and professionally. This is my second master's. It would have been my second master's. And, you know, my professional career, short as it was, you know, really embodied that for me. So this was something that I wanted for a really long time, and in a lot of ways, you know, getting my original diagnosis when I was in New Mexico, only a few months before I was going to start a counseling and art therapy program there, just started an amazing new job, ideal in so many ways, in you know, an amazing new job, the school that the career path that I wanted to go down, in the state that I wanted to be in. Really getting to start living my life, and then having this diagnosis happen and having that all kind of uprooted and derailed. And so coming back to that plan of, all right, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to do this career path, was really my attempt at getting my life back on the rails, back on track. And I'm so glad that I did, in a lot of ways. The things that I have been learning about have really caused me to reflect deeply on myself and how I walk in the world and how I communicate, especially. It has really taught me to kind of slow down and consider my words very carefully before I say them. And also it brought me full circle. My internship this year has been at Turnbridge, which is the organization that Turning Point, where my brother went for rehab and worked at for a little while. They changed their name, they got bought out, they did a couple of different things, but ultimately the program is the same. It's expanded, it's gotten a lot bigger, a lot more robust. But the fact that I got a little glimpse, a little taste of the way that I saw my life going, the way that I saw my life plan unfolding, is amazing, is incredible to me. And a part of it is knowing that it would be something that I would actually be good at. It's not something that I wanted for so long and then found out that I'd be terrible at. So that's a really good feeling, that knowing that, you know, if this was the case, I would be really good at it. But the other, and I think that this is a little bit more profound, and I really see how it connects to so many areas of my life, but it really is this kind of coming full circle and ending my professional academic career at the place, with the place that ultimately inspired it for me, that started it for me. And giving back to the kids that are there now, that remind me so much of my brother, reminds me so much of me, reminds me so much of my friends, the people that I've been on sports teams with, you know, and seeing how they grow and they change through this program and they mature through this program, and knowing that I am at least a little bit, you know, I influence that at least a little bit, is so huge for me. And it's something that I really sit with, and I'm so grateful for. So it was a tough decision to come to the point where I realized that I you know, couldn't do that. But So that's, I started this program with the mindset of I was having 10 years, right? And I also need to, 15 minutes in, I'm going to apologize for the way I tell stories. It's circular, not linear. So I apologize. I do tangents and come back. And so, so 2 years out of 10 in school and then X amount of years practicing, that seemed like a good plan to me. And over winter break, I had a conversation with my doctor, and he told me I should be planning for 3 years. And that's based primarily on not necessarily how my disease is going to progress, but more about how my the treatment's available to me. Because it is such a rare cancer, and I have such a rare subset of that cancer, I have pretty limited treatment options, and limited treatment options with limited effectiveness. The chemo that I'm on right now is average effectiveness of around 11 months, and coming up on basically almost a year of being on this treatment. So that getting that news really changed a lot of things for me. 2 years out of 3 is a little bit bigger of a commitment than I would make, especially because after graduating, going through this program, I wouldn't necessarily be able to practice, or wouldn't have time to practice. So now I'm in a position, and it's such a privileged position to be in, I think, that I'm closing my life to my academic and professional career. And I'm really wrestling with the notion that we're given in our society of that's what makes a fulfilled life. That's what makes a happy life. Is working and getting a family and living a long life and the pursuit of happiness and all of these things. And I have, throughout this experience, I found that those things aren't true. That's not what a happy life is. Excuse me, not a happy life, a fulfilled life. And so now I'm in this place where I really get to explore what that means to me and how to move forward with the few remaining years that I have in a good way, and how to honor my life while also respecting where I am physically, what I can do physically, and also continually pushing myself to be better, to be better, to know myself deeper, to connect with others on a more profound level. All of these things. And it's something that, it is challenging And once again, I said that I'm in an incredibly privileged position because I don't have to work. I don't have to support my family. I don't have to do a lot of different things. I really can just be here and explore those possibilities and explore what that means for me in my life. I was talking to one of my friends who is such a spiritual person. You can really just, even over Zoom, you can really sit with and feel that inner wisdom and depth this person has. She's a literal bodhisattva. And I was talking to her about all of this, and she said, wow, it sounds like, you're living those existential questions. And that really, and that struck me and has stuck with me since then. And it's true. In a lot of ways, that's what my existence is now. And almost every second of my day is how to make this meaningful, how to capitalize on the time that I have. And it's very interesting to me because I found that there's so many layers that I have to peel back from, like, the bullshit that's imposed on me and that, like, I've internalized from society, from my family, from my friends, from myself, all of these things. And kind of what I mean by that is I've always kind of kept tabs on my life in terms of, reflecting back on the day or the month or the year or my life in general and saying, if I die right now, would I be satisfied? Would I be happy? Would I be I'm trying to shy away from happy. Would I be fulfilled with what has happened, where things are? And now that question has become so much more weighted to me. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a very relaxing weekend. And by relaxing, I don't mean like I felt good afterwards. I mean, I didn't do much. I worked out and I took my dog for a walk and I hung out with her in our backyard in the sun, and I watched the Snyder cut of the Justice League, and I really didn't do anything. And pre-diagnosis Bradley most likely would have felt bad about that. Most likely would have said, oh shit, I didn't do anything. I wasn't productive. I didn't move forward in any way. I, whatever it was. I didn't do my schoolwork. I didn't do, this work for my internship or, whatever. And it struck with me for such a long time, after that day, just like looking back on it and just feeling so deeply that it was such a good day and that it was such a satisfying day of just being with my dog in the backyard. Like, we didn't even go for a hike. We didn't even get out in nature. This is in our backyard. Like, I didn't do anything. And it struck me, and I was like, why is this staying with me? Why can't I put my finger on what is so meaningful about this? And I do young adult cancer support groups, and they're amazing. And one of somebody in the group was talking about a similar experience, and then she mentioned this notion of guilt, and about how this aspect of guilt has been kind of taken out of the equation for her. And it clicked in my mind, and I said, oh my God, like that's the reason why I was so confused about why that time sitting with my dog in the sun, just being there, watching a movie, was so satisfying to me, so deeply satisfying to me, because it didn't have that aspect of guilt. Because I wasn't comparing myself to, or wasn't operating under the standards that society has imposed, or that our culture has imposed, right? If you aren't doing something productive, then it's not worthwhile. That's been a message that I've gotten, that everybody has gotten since they are little, right? You go to elementary school to go to middle school, to go to middle school to go to high school, you go to high school to go to college, you go to college to get a good job, or to get a master's degree, you get a master's degree to get a good job, and you get a good job to have a happy life, to have a happy wife, to have a all of these things, and that pursuit of continual growth, of the next achievement, of the next step, has, in so many ways, it's so good, right? That's how progress happens. That's how introspection happens. That's how so many things develop. But on the flip side, there is an implication, or a unacknowledged side effect of, if you don't do those things, you're not worthy. If you don't do those things, you aren't good. If you don't do those things, you aren't, you're lesser than. And so that's something that I've been really that I've really been being mindful of in myself, of trying to see those judgments that aren't mine and that don't serve me right now, where I'm at. Because I already feel bad. I don't need to beat myself up about feeling any worse. But they just don't serve me. And I'm gonna wrap this up here, because it has been going on for a while. But I'd really invite all of you to really think about those things that don't serve you, and really think about if they are needed, and think about those negative feelings that go along with them, and how to really address them and say, I don't need you, and cut whatever that is out. And finally, the last update is my most recent scan, and it's a little funny to me, because it's around my birthday, and shit kind of hits the fan around my birthday, or it has been, at least. All of my other scans I've had so much anxiety about, and we call it scanxiety. Some cancer terminology, scanxiety. And this one I was oddly calm. And of course, this oddly calm one is the one that I found out that my cancer had spread further in my liver. So I have a new tumor, new lesion, whatever, in my liver. And next week I'm going to be doing some more scans to determine if that's the only spot that my cancer has progressed or if there's more. If there's more spots, then I'm going to entirely change up my treatment regimen to a new chemo. And if that's the only one, then they're going to do some specific targeted treatment to see if they can kind of remove or contain that one tumor, so I don't have to get off of my current chemo, which seems to be continuing to work relatively well, minus this new tumor. So that's kind of where I'm at. I really hope to continue to share my experience and to use this platform or the platforms that I have available to me to share my experience and really talk about these things and to help others use that to reflect back on their lives. There's a great quote that Ram Dass had, and this is kind of my approach to what I'm doing here with these, or what I'm attempting to do with these updates, is that I use my story impersonally. And he said that the soul does not own the deeds of the ego. And what that means for me, especially in this context, is that I hope that my experiences and me talking about my experiences openly and honestly can reveal some deeper truth and can help you to reflect and to find that deeper truth, whatever that looks like for you, whichever way it resonates. Yeah, thank you for being here in this for this first video. I understand that it's like 30 minutes long, so I appreciate you staying with it until the end, if that is what happened. If you only got partial way and you're not even seeing this, that's totally fine too. I've been contemplating doing a YouTube channel or a vlog or something along those lines, so that I'm not posting it on GoFundMe, so I'm not guilting people into giving me money every time that I put an update out. But that's something that I've been thinking about, and either way, I'm going to continue to put out updates, and I hope that they are beneficial to you. Because I think that, like I said in the beginning, that these are very hard conversations to have, and they're very uncomfortable conversations to have, and they're very large conversations to have. So I really appreciate you being a part of this and being open to this. Yeah, and with that being said, I really appreciate the thoughts and prayers and support that I have received over the last year and a half or 2 years. It's crazy to me to think about that this is the second birthday that I'm celebrating doing treatment. And it's, I definitely felt a little melancholic about it and a little sad. But that's okay. And I'm not saying that it's okay to dismiss my own sadness or to invalidate what I'm feeling. I really do mean that it's okay. I really do mean that it's okay that I am sad and melancholic, because it is sad and does suck and is shitty. And that is a part of it. I'll leave you all with something that one of my clients said in group a couple weeks ago, and it really stuck with me and was very profound. And he said, and this was somebody who, so deep in their depression that they were talking about how hopeless they felt life was, and how they weren't actively going to kill themselves, but they saw the appeal of checking out, coming from a place of so much internal despair and anguish and hopelessness. And they said something so profound that has really stuck with me. And they said, in order to live a fulfilled life, I have to live life fully. And that includes the suffering, and that includes the joy. And that stuck with me so deeply, because it's so true. And I think that's one of the reasons why I try to shy away from the, pursuit of happiness, or, my goal in life is to be happy. Because that narrows it down so much. That narrows down those experiences so much. That narrows down the opportunities of growth so much, to only be looking for happiness. And it's something that I've also been experiencing very, very tangibly, being that in between. And I think that that's something that I would like to talk about moving forward, as being in that in-between of hope and hopelessness, joy and suffering. Yeah. Thank you all for taking the time and listening to me and being here with me on my birthday, or whenever you listen to it, whenever you watch this. And please feel free to reach out to me. Please feel free to donate if you are so called to. Like I said, I'm not trying to guilt anybody into doing that, but if that is what you are called to do, I am so appreciative and will not turn down donations. But I would say, please share this, and please really take the time to reflect on any of the things that I said that made you uncomfortable, and why that made you uncomfortable, and what about these conversations is uncomfortable, and where that takes you. That would be my biggest request. So I'm going to be done here. Thank you for being with me. Oh, Mitakuye Oyasin.